You're right, Susan. And I mean, going back to 2018 when this deal was signed in Argentina at the G20 summit, there were so much hopes that this would really get down in various legislative arms of government in these three countries. But unfortunately, in the U.S., there were some political drawbacks or ping-pong game being played between Democrats and Republicans. And Nancy Pelosi actually delayed it for some reasons, perhaps maybe for trade reforms and labor reforms and, of course, environmental reforms, which she stated that if those things are not tackled, then it's going to be a big problem putting pen to paper to ensure that they sign that. But again, they corroborated with the economic advisor to the president, Robert Lighthizer, to iron out some of the areas, gray areas in that. And of course, just about five key points, that was actually ironed out in that agreement. One is that the country of origin, which means that each of the countries where automobiles are manufactured, 75% tariffs, free tariffs is going to be given to those manufacturers, which means that if, say for instance, a U.S. car company manufacture parts and is going to be transported to Mexico or Canada, 75% tariffs, zero tariffs will be taken so that the companies can have some level of leverage. Up from 62.5% tariffs under NAFTA. So to give you a brief understanding of what USMCA and NAFTA is just an improvement on what you have on NAFTA. Now, the second one is the labor provisions, which of course the Democrats are really concerned about. That 40 to 45% of labor of those automobile industries would definitely have to come from the countries of origin, which means that homegrown development, the local contents, the people who are in that country must, first of all, have some sort of, advantage for employment, and of course will also be paid a minimum of about $16 per hour. While U.S. and Canada have been able to do that, but Mexico is still having some little drawbacks because the workers there have not been paid up to that set amount of money. And of course, the U.S. also achieved some great milestones in the USMCA. They were able to force Canada to open their dairy markets, for U.S. farmers, which of course is one of the top priority of President Trump. And there's another one that's really making, a lot of Republicans uneased about, this particular agreement, and that's a sunset clause. The sunset clause basically is an agreement that says that every 16 years of this agreement, the new USMCA, is subject to ratification, which means they can actually come in after 16 years and make some addition or subtraction to it. It all depends on the whole situation. I mean, these are just basically the key points you can take out from this new USMCA. And I think from what we had in the past few days about the impeachment, I mean, there's something to actually smile about.
So this new agreement, in our final minute, Rotimi, just tell me, this new agreement, how confident does it make farmers, U.S. farmers, feel?
Well, as I said earlier, one part of this agreement is that the U.S. has been able to force the Canadian government to open their dairy market, and of course, giving the U.S. farmers some sort of advantage over the other two countries. And this will definitely help the U.S. farmers to actually export perhaps maybe some of the excesses they might have in the country to this country. Yes, USMCA is a 2.0 of NAFTA, but again, skepticisms over how many people this would employ has already, taken over the particular, key points and the applause this has really received them in the past few hours that was being signed into law. But again, whatever differences that may happen or may the Democrats and the Republicans have in terms of their political differences. I mean, like the impeachment that happened just about 2 days ago. This is more or less like a nail in the coffin for the development in the U.S.